The hackers cut the power at 2:34 a.m., exactly when the backup generators took longest to kick in. 47 seconds of darkness in a building that held everything. Medical records for 2.3 million patients. Financial data worth $400 million. Research worth even more. They'd planned it perfectly. Bypass security. Access the server room. Copy everything before anyone noticed. What they didn't plan for was Victor Hayes, the 49-year-old night security guard who'd been walking the same routes for 7 years. The guy who everyone assumed just checked doors and wrote incident reports. But when the lights went out and the server started bleeding data through Ethernet cables the intruders had spliced, Victor didn't call for help first. He neutralized the threat. Because before he wore a security uniform, in Atlanta's Tech Square, Victor Hayes had spent 16 years in Army Cyber Command, defending networks that, if compromised, would have meant American lives lost. Some guards carry flashlights. Victor carried skills the hackers never saw coming. Welcome to Life Stories Archive, where the overnight shift hides unexpected defenders. The Piedmont Medical Technology Center occupied 12 floors in Atlanta's Tech Square district, housing medical research labs, patient databases, and pharmaceutical development facilities. Security was considered excellent: card access, cameras, regular patrols. Victor Hayes worked the midnight to 8 a.m. shift, the slot nobody wanted. While the building slept, he walked predetermined routes, checked doors, monitored camera feeds, and filed reports nobody read unless something went wrong. He'd been hired in 2016 through a veteran employment program. His resume listed U.S. Army, 2000 to 2016, honorable discharge, IT systems, and security certifications. Standard credentials for the position. The hiring manager never asked what IT systems meant in a military context, and Victor never volunteered details. His co-workers on the night shift, 2 other guards and a cleaning crew, knew him as reliable but quiet. Victor doesn't talk much, they'd say, just does his job. What they didn't notice was how Victor's routes always included the server room, how he'd pause at network junction boxes longer than necessary, how his eyes tracked more than just physical security. March 11th started like any other night. Victor clocked in at 11:45 p.m., reviewed the shift log, and began his first round at midnight. The building was quiet, just the hum of HVAC systems and the distant sound of cleaning equipment. His route was methodical. Lobby, stairwell A, second floor labs, server room check, third floor offices, back stairwell, repeat. Every hour, same pattern, documented in his log. At 2:30 a.m., during his third round, Victor noticed something wrong. Not dramatically wrong, subtly wrong. The kind of detail most people wouldn't catch. A network access panel on the third floor that should have been flush with the wall was slightly displaced. Maybe a millimeter. Old instincts activated. In cyber operations, the smallest anomaly often signals the biggest threat. An out-of-place cable, an unexpected process running, a panel that shouldn't be loose. Victor documented it in his log but didn't immediately report it. First rule of security: verify before escalating. He continued his rounds, but now he was looking with different eyes. Not security guard eyes, cyber operator eyes. At 2:34 a.m., the power went out. Complete blackness for exactly 47 seconds before emergency lighting kicked in, then another 12 seconds before the main backup generators restored full power. During those 59 seconds, 3 things happened. First, Someone had physically cut power to create a window. Not a random outage, a tactical disruption. Second, the building's network briefly went offline, then came back up. Standard procedure during power transitions. Third, Victor was already moving toward the server room before the lights came back on, using the emergency lighting and his knowledge of the building layout to navigate in near darkness. When he reached the server room, the door was closed, but the magnetic lock showed signs of bypass, the kind of hardware hack that leaves traces if you know what to look for. The lock mechanism had been shimmed, probably using a modified card skimmer. Victor didn't enter immediately. He positioned himself where he could observe without being seen. His radio was on his hip, ready to call police. But calling them now might spook the intruders into destroying evidence, or worse. Through the small window in the server room door, Victor saw them. 2 people in dark clothes, one working on a laptop connected directly to the server via an Ethernet cable they'd spliced into the network. The other was positioning what looked like a portable storage device. They were copying everything: medical records, research data, financial information. Months of planning culminating in this perfectly timed intrusion. Most security guards would have called police and waited. Standard protocol: observe and report. Don't engage. Let the professionals handle it. But Victor Hayes wasn't thinking like a security guard. He was thinking like a cyber operator who'd spent years defending military networks from nation-state actors. And he knew something these hackers didn't. Data theft isn't complete until the data leaves the building. They had physical access, yes. They were copying files, yes. But they still needed to transmit that data out or carry it out physically. And both of those required time. Victor pulled out his personal phone, not the security radio, and opened an app that looked like a simple calculator. But when he entered a specific code, it became something else, a network analysis tool that could interface with the building's systems. Before taking the security job, Victor had quietly mapped the entire building's network topology. Not because he was planning anything, because that's what cyber operators do. They understand the terrain. He isolated the server room's network segment remotely, cutting off external connectivity while maintaining internal operations. To the hackers, it would look like normal network activity, but their data wasn't going anywhere. Then he made the call, not to building security or 911, but to a federal cybercrimes task force number he still had from his Army days. This is Victor Hayes, former Army Cyber Command. I have active data exfiltration in progress at Piedmont Medical Technology Center, Atlanta. Suspects are physically present in server room with direct network access. I've isolated the network segment. Need immediate federal response. The response was immediate. Mr. Hayes, maintain position and do not engage. Units are en route. ETA 12 minutes. But Victor knew 12 minutes was an eternity in cyber operations. The hackers would realize their connection was isolated soon, and when they did, they'd either run or switch to backup plans. He needed to buy time without alerting them to the network isolation. So he did what any good security guard would do. He conducted his rounds. Loudly. Victor walked the corridor outside the server room with deliberate footsteps, his radio crackling with fake traffic he was generating himself. He wanted them to hear a security presence, to stay quiet and still until they thought he'd passed. It worked. Through the door window, he saw them freeze, waiting for the guard to move on. They had no idea the guard knew exactly what they were doing, and had already called federal agents. When the FBI Cyber Division arrived 8 minutes later, faster than expected, they found Victor positioned at the stairwell with complete visibility of the server room exit. He'd been there for 6 minutes, ensuring the suspects couldn't leave without confronting him. The arrest was anticlimactic. Federal agents entered with warrants, the hackers surrendered without incident, and the data they'd copied was forensically analyzed. The breach was contained before any information left the building. The investigation revealed sophisticated planning. The hackers had been preparing for months, surveying the building, mapping security patterns, identifying vulnerabilities. They'd bypassed physical security, timed their attack to coincide with minimal staffing, and used advanced techniques to access protected systems. What they hadn't counted on was a security guard who understood cyber operations better than most IT professionals. When FBI Special Agent Rachel Torres reviewed Victor's response, she requested his full military record. What she found was remarkable. Chief Warrant Officer Victor Hayes, Army Cyber Command. 16 years defending Department of Defense networks from nation-state cyber attacks. 2 tours in cyber operations supporting combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. Multiple commendations for identifying and neutralizing advanced persistent threats. He'd retired in 2016 due to a medical condition that prevented continued active duty, but didn't affect his ability to work civilian security. "Mr. Hayes," Agent Torres asked, after the suspects were in custody, "why are you working as a security guard when you have these qualifications?" Victor was filling out his incident report with the same methodical attention he gave everything. "Because I wanted to serve, ma'am. The uniform doesn't matter. The mission does. The data breach that almost happened would have been catastrophic. Medical records for 2.3 million patients. Pharmaceutical research worth hundreds of millions. Financial data that could have been sold or used for identity theft on a massive scale. Instead, it became a case study in why security depth matters, not just technology and procedures, but people who understand the threat landscape." Piedmont Medical Technology Center offered Victor a position as Chief Information Security Officer with a salary 5 times his security guard pay. He considered it for exactly 1 day before declining. "I like the night shift," he told them. "I like walking the building, checking the doors, making sure everything's secure. The title doesn't make the job important. The job makes the job important." But he did accept one change. The company implemented his recommendations for network security improvements, physical access controls, and response protocols that would make future breaches nearly impossible. Victor Hayes continues working the midnight shift at Piedmont Medical Technology Center. He still walks the same routes, checks the same doors, and files reports that most people don't read. The difference is that now the IT department consults him on security matters. Federal cyber investigators have his number, and everyone in the building knows that the quiet night security guard is the reason 2.3 million people's medical records weren't stolen. He doesn't talk about it much. When co-workers ask about his military background, he deflects politely. Did some IT work. Nothing exciting. But the people who need to know, the FBI agents, the cybersecurity professionals, the threat analysts, they know. They know that some of America's most capable defenders aren't in uniform anymore. They're walking night shifts in buildings across the country, serving quietly, protecting silently, and stopping threats that never make headlines because they never get the chance to succeed. Have you ever discovered that someone working overnight security had skills that prevented disasters nobody knew were coming? Share their story in the comments. Because expertise doesn't retire when people leave service. It just finds new missions. If this story reminded you that professionals never stop protecting us, subscribe to Life Stories Archive. Every quiet defender deserves recognition for stopping threats we never see coming.